They told us it was just an old house. A fixer-upper, they said, with good bones and a long history. My father, ever the optimist, called it a fresh start. My mother, quieter and more practical, just wanted somewhere the mortgage wouldn't drown us. We didn't question the price, it was too good to be true, but sometimes desperation makes you blind. That's how we ended up in a Dutch colonial house on Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. The house with the quarter-moon windows that looked like eyes. Watching. We moved in early autumn. Leaves fell in thick blankets across the yard, and the air carried that cold edge that whispers of winter coming. The house greeted us with silence. Not the peaceful kind, but a heavy stillness like something holding its breath. I remember how our dog Max refused to cross the threshold, barking until my father dragged him inside. That should have been our first warning. We knew about the murders, of course. Everyone in town did. A boy named Ronald DeFeo Jr. had killed his entire family there, his parents and 4 siblings. Shot them all in their beds one by one, and not a single neighbor heard the gunshots. My parents didn't talk about it much, only mentioning it once in hushed tones when they thought I was asleep. But I knew. Everyone knew. They said he claimed the voices made him do it. On the first night, I lay awake in my new room, staring at the ceiling. The walls were freshly painted, the carpet new, but I swore I could smell something old, like mold and copper. I convinced myself it was just in my head. The nightmares started that week. I dreamed of someone walking through the halls, dragging something behind them. A soft, wet sound. When I woke, my bedroom door was ajar. I remembered closing it. My younger brother, Josh, said he didn't like the upstairs hallway. He said it got too quiet there. He wasn't wrong. No matter what time of day, that hallway felt wrong. I tried to laugh it off, blaming old plumbing, shifting floorboards. But every explanation felt like a lie told to children. One morning, my mom came into the kitchen looking pale. She said she'd heard whispering in the night, like someone talking just outside her bedroom door. My dad brushed it off, saying it was probably one of us kids. But we all knew we hadn't left our rooms. That same day, the living room clock stopped. It froze at 3:15 a.m. That time meant nothing to me back then. It would later. We started noticing small things. The same doors creaked open every night. The temperature in my sister's room dropped so low we could see our breath. Max growled at empty corners, tail between his legs. My father, skeptical and proud, told us not to feed into it. He kept saying, "This house needs life in it, not fear." But even he couldn't ignore it when the kitchen cabinets all slammed open at once one evening. No wind, no earthquake, just noise, loud and sharp, like something wanted our attention. Still, we stayed. The house was beautiful in a way only the cursed can be. Its wooden beams and tall windows caught the morning light in golden streaks. But at night it changed. Shadows lingered too long in corners. Reflections in the glass didn't always match reality. My mother started sleeping with the lights on. My father drank more. He said he couldn't sleep. Said he was hearing things too, but only when he was alone. We weren't alone. We all felt it. Something was watching. In our second week, a man from the church came to bless the house. My mother invited him after the incident with the cabinets. He walked from room to room, murmuring prayers, sprinkling holy water. I remember the way his voice faltered when he reached the sewing room. He paused at the doorway, then stepped in slowly. Less than a minute later, he walked out pale and shaking. He told my mother, "Don't use that room," and left without finishing the blessing. He never came back. Later that night, we heard someone whisper from inside that room. We hadn't opened the door. I began to understand that the house wasn't just haunted. It was hungry, and we had just moved in. It didn't take long for the house to stop pretending. By the third week, the strange things were no longer subtle. They didn't hide in creaks and cold spots anymore. They came louder, bolder, like they were testing how much we could take. My little sister Emily was the first to say it out loud. "There's someone in my closet," she whispered during breakfast, her cereal soggy and untouched. My mother dismissed it as a bad dream, but Emily insisted. She said the person didn't speak, just stood there in the dark, breathing loudly, not moving. Every night. When my dad checked, there was nothing but clothes and an old toy chest. Still, he moved her nightlight closer to the closet door. It didn't help. That night I heard it too. I woke around 3 a.m. to the sound of footsteps above me. Slow, deliberate, heavy. But my room was on the second floor and there was no third. I sat up in bed holding my breath. The footsteps continued, then stopped. That silence afterward was somehow worse, like the house was listening back. The next morning, my mom found the kitchen chairs stacked on top of the table, balanced perfectly, legs pointed toward the ceiling. No one had been awake. No one strong enough to lift them like that. We didn't even own a ladder. Josh started sleepwalking. He'd never done it before. At first, he just wandered into the hallway. Then we found him standing at the basement door one night, completely still, eyes open but blank. When my father touched his shoulder, Josh screamed like something was tearing him apart from the inside. He didn't remember a thing. The basement door started unlocking itself. My dad began locking it with a key, then tying it shut with rope. Still, every morning it was cracked open. Not wide, just enough to let something through. The basement was cold. Not cold like winter, but cold like a place forgotten by time. The light bulb at the bottom of the stairs always flickered, no matter how many times he replaced it. We stopped going down there. Our dog Max refused to eat. He started pacing in circles at night, growling at the same empty corner of the living room. One night I followed his gaze and saw something, just for a moment. A face in the hallway mirror. Not mine, not anyone's. Pale, expressionless, with hollow eyes that stared back through the glass. When I turned around, there was nothing there. I didn't sleep that night. I left my room and sat in the living room with the lights on, waiting for morning. Around 3:15, I heard the back door click open. I crept toward it, heart racing. It was wide open. The screen door swung in the wind, and on the porch floor were muddy footprints, barefoot, leading into the kitchen. We all started changing. My mother cried often. She stopped wearing makeup, stopped cooking. My father became angry, withdrawn. His hands shook. Emily drew pictures of the closet man, now giving him a name, Jody. She said Jody told her things she shouldn't know, like how the people in the house before us couldn't leave either. One night, my dad snapped. He yelled at all of us at dinner, furious over spilled milk like it was blood. He left the table, went out to the garage, and didn't come back for an hour. When he did, he was pale, sweating, holding a hammer he didn't remember picking up. That's when my mom called Father Dominic again, the same priest who had blessed the house, or tried to. She begged him to return. He refused. Instead, he told her on the phone, "Whatever is in that house doesn't want you there, and it's only just begun." We believed him, because the worst part wasn't what we saw, it was what we felt, that we weren't alone, that we were being watched, listened to, studied, and that whoever was watching wasn't human. There's something about mirrors at night, something that doesn't feel right. Like they're not just reflecting you, but watching you back. I woke one morning to find a long, thin crack running across my bedroom mirror, not a clean break. It twisted like it had been clawed, curling downward in jagged spirals. I hadn't touched it. No one had. But there it was, fresh, sharp, almost angry. I ran my fingers over the glass and felt a faint warmth like someone had just been there. That same day, Emily drew another picture. This time it wasn't Jody. It was our family, me, her, Josh, Mom, and Dad, standing in front of the house. But there was someone else in the window upstairs. A tall, dark figure with red eyes and no face. She'd colored it in thick black crayon, pressing so hard the paper tore. "Who is that?" I asked. She didn't even look up. "He lives here." Things were happening faster now. The lights flickered all the time. The phone rang in the middle of the night, and when we picked up, there was only static, or worse, breathing. Heavy, wet, Close. Doors slammed without warning. Objects moved on their own. Once we came home and found every single drawer in the kitchen pulled wide open, knives laid out in a perfect circle on the floor. At first, my father thought it was an intruder. He stayed up at night with a bat, but there was never anyone there. Nothing stolen, just chaos arranged deliberately. Then came the scratching. It started in the walls. At first, we thought it was mice, but the sound was too loud, too controlled, like fingernails dragging slowly along wood. It moved. We'd hear it upstairs, then suddenly in the basement, then behind our bedroom walls. At night, I pressed my ear to the drywall and swore I heard whispering. Not words, just breath. In and out. Faster when I listened, slower when I pulled away. Josh screamed one night from the bathroom. We rushed in and found him staring at the mirror. His face was pale, his hands shaking. He said he saw someone standing behind him, but when he turned around, there was no one there. Just the shower curtain swaying gently like someone had just stepped out. My mother tried to remove the mirrors from the house. She took down everyone except the hallway mirror, the one bolted into the wall. But that one started showing things that weren't there. One night, as I walked past, I caught a glimpse of myself, but not exactly. My reflection blinked a second too late. It smiled when I wasn't smiling. I stopped looking into it after that. Emily talked to Jody every day now. She said Jody told her secrets, said Jody didn't like the basement, said Jody had to hide from the man with the red eyes. We asked her what that meant. She only said, "He doesn't like you." One evening, my father found deep scratches on the basement door, like claw marks. 4 long gashes, too wide for a dog, too uneven for a tool. He stared at them for a long time, then nailed the door shut. It didn't help. That night, we heard something scratching from the inside. Not frantically, but slowly. Like it wasn't in a rush. Like it was patient. The next morning, I found muddy prints in my room, human-sized, bare. They started near the mirror and ended beside my bed. I asked my mom if she'd seen them. She went pale and nodded. They were in our room last night, too. We didn't talk about it after that. The house wasn't just haunted anymore. It was changing us. The rooms felt tighter, the air thicker. Shadows lingered long after the lights were turned on. We moved from room to room like guests, not owners, as if the house was letting us stay until it decided not to, and we all knew something was coming. We stopped talking to each other, not in anger, just exhaustion. Words felt useless. Sleep never came easily anymore, and when it did, it came poisoned. Our dreams twisted with violence and darkness. My mother dreamt of drowning in black water. My father dreamt of fire. I dreamt I was being buried alive inside the walls of the house, hearing laughter on the other side as I screamed. By the 4th week, the house wasn't just haunted. It was alive. Rooms began to feel different from one day to the next. The hallway stretched longer than it should. The kitchen light flickered in patterns that resembled breathing. The living room walls sometimes seemed to pulse like veins. And that basement, we all avoided it, but even shut behind nails and locks, it called to us. One night I woke outside. I remember closing my eyes in bed and then opening them in the backyard, barefoot, freezing, mud caked up to my knees. I was standing just below Emily's window, looking up. The light in her room was off. She was asleep. But I wasn't alone. I felt it behind me. I didn't turn around. The next morning, my mother found claw marks across my bedroom door. From the inside, Emily started sleep-talking. We'd hear her through the walls at night, mumbling things no little girl should say. She spoke in a tone that wasn't hers, too low, too slow. She said things like, "He's watching you from the attic," or "Don't go near the mirror, it remembers." And Josh, he stopped talking entirely. He sat in the corner of the living room most days, staring at the blank television screen. When we asked him anything, he just shook his head slowly, like words would make it worse. My father began to change. He wasn't just withdrawn. He was unstable. He spent hours in the basement, despite his fear, sitting in the dark, doing nothing. He told us he needed the quiet, but he wasn't the same man anymore. His eyes looked wrong. Tired, yes, but also angry. Like he was fighting something inside. One night, we heard a crash. We rushed downstairs and found every photo of our family shattered on the floor. Frames split, glass everywhere. Only the photos of us were damaged. Burnt even. Edges curled and blackened as if set on fire. We tried to leave the next morning. We packed quickly, desperately, but the car wouldn't start. Battery drained, the phone line was dead. Our neighbor offered to call for a tow truck, but it never came. That night, the house turned on us. At exactly 3:15 a.m., the temperature dropped so sharply we could see our breath. Every light in the house turned off. Then, slowly, one by one, doors began slamming. First the bedrooms, then the closets, then the basement door, still nailed shut, splintered open like something pushed through. My mother screamed. Emily was sobbing. My father stood still in the hallway, whispering something to himself over and over. I only caught the last words. It's in me. The walls began to bleed. At least that's what it looked like. Thick, dark fluid oozing from the corners, dripping down like the house itself was weeping. The crosses my mother had placed in each room, quiet reminders of faith, were upside down. All of them. That was the moment we knew. We weren't welcome. We were prey. My father grabbed us all and shoved us out the front door, barefoot, shivering, desperate. We ran to the neighbor's house and didn't stop until we were on their porch banging like maniacs. They took us in. They didn't ask questions. We never stepped foot inside that house again. But the strangest part? The next day when police went to inspect the house, it was quiet. Clean. No blood on the walls, no broken photos, no claw marks. The house didn't want them to see. Only us. Because it didn't want to scare us. It wanted to own us. 10 years later, I returned. I didn't mean to. I told myself it was just curiosity, just closure. But deep down, I think part of me needed to know if it was real, if it was as evil as I remembered, or if time had twisted it into something worse. The house was still there. The paint had changed. The lawn was trimmed. There were new owners, I think. I didn't knock. I just stood on the other side of the street staring. It looked smaller somehow, almost harmless. But the windows, those quarter-moon windows, still looked like eyes. And I swear, as I stood there in silence, one curtain upstairs moved. When we left that night all those years ago, my family fell apart. My father became someone I didn't recognize, quiet, hollow. He never talked about the house. My mother tried to pretend it never happened. Josh didn't speak for almost a year after. Emily, she forgot things, or at least claimed to, but she never slept without a nightlight again. As for me, the house never really let me go. Sometimes I hear scratching in my apartment walls. Sometimes I find footprints near the window when it rains. Once, I saw my reflection smile. When, I didn't. But the worst is the dreams. I still have them. The dragging footsteps, the whispering voice that knows my name, the cold breath on the back of my neck right before I wake up. I've been to therapy, I've tried to explain what happened. No one ever believes me. They think it was trauma, stress, a child's imagination. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt, and I know that whatever lives at 112 Ocean Avenue is still there. Waiting, watching. Some houses don't forget. Some houses don't forgive. And some just want you to come back. Love true horror stories like this one? If this chilling journey into the Amityville horror gave you goosebumps, make sure to like this video so more horror fans can find it. Got theories, stories, or strange experiences of your own? Drop them in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more nightmare fuel just like this, and don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot more waiting in the dark. Sleep tight, if you still can.